So it's Friday, actually, no.
Saturday night.
Yeah. Friday night, we did not end up doing anything with the Z because we got some nasty storms here in North Texas. So we decided to just postpone to tonight. But we got our Greek food in us, and now.
It snowed today, too?
Yeah, it was snowing this morning. So it's been kind of crazy weather today. But today on the docket, we got, first of all, we got the intake manifold for the 2J. We don't need to bust it all out. Little sneak peek there.
Baby.
I'll drop some video here when we got it out of the box. It's beautiful. Great quality for China.
Very impressed.
So we got that, but another thing we got is new struts. So those are just stock struts. We have some S13 coilovers we were thinking about going with and just welding them to the strut tubes and the Z. The stock strut tubes, but we're concerned about weight transfer.
Sure.
We already have some pretty stiff rear suspension, and the last thing we want to do is make the front really stiff and lose all of our weight transfer on the launch. You know, we like for the nose to come up some.
Yeah, we like to dig hard.
So yeah, we want to be able to keep traction. The back of the car is so light, without weight transfer, it's just gonna bust the tires loose all the time. So the plan is stock struts on the front. We got some new brake hoses, just because the ones that are on there are actually like super
cracking shit. I'm really surprised that none of them are leaking, and we haven't.
We were going
lost control and died, but
yeah, we were going about 120 miles an hour with just, I mean, they're really bad, about as bad as you've ever seen.
Don't worry, we'll get you some video.
But so we'll kind of show what's going on there. So Matt's going to work on struts and brake hoses, and I'm going to be tearing apart the distributor because I have a new optical wheel that's going to be work not only as our crank sensor, but also provide an input for a cam position. And what that's going to do is enable us to run a sequential fuel injection system. And I'll kind of go into more why we want to do that soon. But I mean, obviously running sequential, we're just going to have, it's going to be easier to tune. Everything's going to run more smoothly. So I'm going to work on putting the optical wheel in the distributor while Matt works on the front end. And we need to run a couple of wires to get the injection all ready to go and stuff. So hopefully we can get it all done tonight, but at the very least we need to get
the shocks on, and we need to get the wheel up.
The car has to be able to move in and out of the garage.
These pliers are spectacular.
All right, so Matt's still working on getting the struts out, but I got the distributor apart. So you can see what we do there. You just pull off the rotor, and then there's like a little cover. You take it off, and then this is the factory trigger wheel. It's got 360 tiny slits on the outer edge, and it's got 6, you can't really see, it's all scraped up, and then it's got 6 larger slits on the inside of that ring. And so it gets low res from the 6 slots, and it gets high res from the outer ring with the stock ECM, but the megasquirt doesn't know what to do with these 360 slits. If we're going sequential, we need cam input. So then that's when we use this wheel. This wheel, we're gonna set it up to run crank trigger off of these little squares right here, and then it has this outer gate right there that is going to give a cam signal. So on DIY Auto Tune's website, we're able to find the procedure to install this and the orientation, and then in here we'll also be able to find the how we need to set up the tuner studios to make it all work correctly. So we got the trigger wheel in place. Didn't we just do an alignment on it?
Yeah, but we're taking all this shit off.
Oh, it won't need much. So we'll set that in.
And I think the last time we did one was like over a year ago.
And just got a Phillips head that goes in the middle of that, and that locks it all down. Make sure you get her nice and snug. This is a rotating component, so proper torque is definitely important.
Ooh, yeah, I feel like this has some pressure behind it.
I got a plate to put in there.
It's fine.
And
it was just pushing down against the bolt at first, so I was like,
what the hell are you talking about?
This is what it's
And then we're gonna tighten our rotor back into place there. As simple as that. Then the rest is pretty much software related. All right, so we got the whole strut assembly out of the car. And so the way these struts work, they're just inserts.
Oh!
It was just soaked in oil. That thing has been leaking.
It's blue. It's kind of cool.
Stinks.
Yeah, it stinks real bad. It smells like good old 1980s Japanese petroleum.
So so that's all you replace is the insert, and what you're left with is the same tube and everything.
Shaft,
Get that thing out of here, it's dripping everywhere. Throw it in the dumpster out in the driveway. So that thing was definitely effed, and I imagine the other one's gonna look much the same. Pretty easy to get out. Ooh, sexy. Baby. KYB's factory replacements, and in that box there's also another one of the little nuts for it, and there should also be another bolt or a nut for the top of that. And over here what I'm working on is I got the DIY specs on the new optical wheel, and I'm just going to go into Tuner Studios and see if I can get all the parameters for crank input set correctly so the megasquirt knows what it means. Then we'll try to start it up before I try to do anything sequential, just to make sure it's happy the way it is. We actually need to check the timing on it. We'll have to reset the base timing.
Instructions.
You're right. This guy's a pro.
Oh.
Well, you should have seen him shaking when he got that spring compressor on there.
Springs make me nervous.
Alright, so I got all our new parameters in. We had to change a lot of this stuff. We had to change the spark mode, we had to change the spark output, actually the ignition input capture. Lots of these parameters were changed, completely different. But it's all right here on DIY Auto Tune, so nope, kind of takes out the guesswork there.
This is a lot heavier.
Matt's got the new strut in place and he's going to install it back in the car.
This motherfucker is now.
I know how heavy it is, dude. What do you mean? You think it's heavier with the new strut?
Feels like it.
No way. No, it's because I'm the one who picked it up out of the car. You never got to feel it. Alright, so feed that thing up here and I'll start one of these nuts. And then you can relax. I'm gonna make you strong. Oh, real close. Push up. Now wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Just rotate it slightly clockwise from your angle. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That one's
So,
just... All right, get it out of here quick.
Yep.
Ah! Whoa, I hear tools for
That was a washer or something.
a washer or something. Probably nothing. Or something. Who knows? So Matthew's over here working on the right hand strut. What is that? What's that?
That must have been one just fell out.
Well, where the hell did that come from? Was it like sitting on top of it? Like that?
Actually, I think there was one stuck in the other one, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Alright, the new strut in there. And we got one more brake hose to do on that side, and then we're good on the front end. And over here, what I'm working on is I have located the circuit we need that comes from the distributor to where the stock ECM was. Now I'm adding a pin to the MS3X connector there, and I already got it soldered on there, so then all I have to do is connect that wire to our other crank signal wire, and then we will have a circuit that inputs our cam position, or presumed cam position, into the megasquirt. And so then I'm hoping I can just set it up to start looking at that input, and it'll just work. But at least I'll have it wired in, and we can see on Tuner Studios if we're getting a cam input. All right, so we got the new shocks installed. Just got done bleeding the brakes out. Matt's just getting the wheel on now, and everything looks good there with the shocks and the new hoses. Everything's good. I did get, or I attempted to start the car up and see if I can get any indication of cam signal. And on Tuner Studios, there's just a little block that just says cam fault, and it was lit up. So got back online to MS Extra to see if I could find what we might have done wrong. And it's pretty simple. I mean, the circuit signal wires right into the MS3X card. So there's just a pin, you wire it in, and that's pretty much it. But there is some adjustments that I was supposed to make on the board itself. And you can see here I have the megasquirt cracked open. And it's probably real hard to see on the GoPro, but if you look real close, right here, there's a little, I call them pots. It's like a pot resistor, and it's got a little screw on top of it. And turning that screw creates different values. So I read up and figured out that for the cam signal on the MS3X, if we're using an optical sensor like we are, then we should turn 7 turns counterclockwise on pot 11 and pot 32. And so I've done that. Our cam signal working.
It looks like it's sitting higher.
It should be sitting the same. I mean, it's, the spring is what determines the height, not the strut.
It looks like it's sitting a little higher to me. Maybe not.
That gap just looks a little bigger.
Oh, it's tight, dude.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's way different.
Yeah, it's way better. Man, that's gonna make a huge difference in the handling.
Yeah, baby.
Cool, I like it. So I'm gonna get the megasquirt, throw them back together, throw it back in the car, and
See what happens.
And hopefully the cam signal's clean now. If not, that's probably something we'll figure out just throughout the week when I got some time. Can't run this damn thing a whole lot later than we're at now. So, once that's done, oh look, Matt left the brake fluid reservoir cap off. That jerk ass idiot. Oh hey, let's get all these tools put away, dude.
All these tools.
All
the
these
one set of
tools.
pliers.
Wow, dude, you see those pliers though?
Where are they gonna go?
Get this megasquirt together. All right, so what we're looking at is down here where it says cam fault, this little block right there, and hopefully it's not red. Well, shoot. Well, I got some more homework to do, I reckon.
Yeah. Oh, we got some shit done tonight though, for sure.
Yeah, I got the new trigger wheel in. We got the circuit ran for the cam sensor going to the megasquirt. So
Shots.
figure out how to. Yeah, dude. And man, these things are just gonna make a huge difference. This thing was just so bouncy before.
Yeah, it really was.
So much better, dude.
Can't wait to take it on straight.
Car. And we got brake hoses. One of the brake hoses literally
just
ripped
crumbled
in
into pieces.
half
Yeah.
when we were removing it. And I mean,
Terrible.
We were relying on those brakes pretty heavily.
El Terrible.
Some of the worst I've seen. Seriously. But that's
anyway.
Cool, so I guess that's gonna do it for now. I'll see if I can get some updates on the cam sensor situation. Once we get that going, probably just throughout the week, hopefully I find some time to fix the cam sensor signal and then get the sequential up and running. The new intake arrived. Look at this throttle body. Wow, it looks nice, dude.
Looks real nice.
Came with a throttle cable. I'm not sure how the heck.
Wow, the machining on it actually looks really
good.
good.
I know.
Look at
It's
the
like
edges.
some
It's
good-looking
nice.
billet pieces here. Thank you, China.
Wow, look at the good welds too. Wow.
Got the fuel rail.
Really good. Worth every bit.
Bunch of hardware and gaskets and stuff. And get out the piece de la resistance. What the heck is going on? You coming up?
Dub wants to see it too.
Wow, it's bigger than I pictured.
Whoa.
God, look at that intake. Look at the size of the intake.
Whoa. That's really big.
Wow, it's huge.
Whoa.
Oh, it's so pretty.
They have one.
Dude, this
Look at
looks
those
like
welds.
this looks like quality
I know,
material
it really
here.
does.
Look at the flange,
One,
the O-ring grooves.
Nice.
4,
Wow, it
5,
feels really good
6.
quality.
6. You
surprised.
are correct, sir.
Yeah,
Wow, this looks nice.
that's so cool.
Thanks, China.
Thanks for letting us afford nice things. I can't believe how nice the throttle body is.
That's crazy.
Throttle body like that would be a few $100 in its own right. Got the cam sensor to sync up. You can see cam fault is not lit any longer. And up here you can see full RPM sync. So what I had to do is actually, I had the input for the cam setup as an optical sensor, which I thought was wrong, even though this car does have an optical sensor for a cam and crank signal. It's not supposed to be set up as optical. It's actually set up as variable reluctance just because of the way the signal that comes out of the distributor or out of the crank sensor. So I had to change a jumper inside the megasquirt, which was real easy, and then I had to change the trigger to rising edge. And now we have RPM sync. So now I can actually work on getting our sequential fuel injection set up, which is super exciting. All right, so here's the mess of wires that is my main harness for the megasquirt. This is kind of an abomination. This probably makes a lot of people uncomfortable to look at this. Right here are my 6 injector wires for the the control side. And here is the connector for my MS3X. And I just finished soldering on these brown wires here. I got 6 of them on the correct pins down here. And those are going to be the ones that we're gonna be connecting those to these in the proper firing order. And that should be how our sequential works. After that, I already got the Tuner Studios set up for it. So just kind of getting through it one wire at a time. Well, things escalated really quickly with this whole project. I got all the wiring done, everything was finished, everything was good. All I had to do is reinstall the megasquirt into the car. I got it down next to the connector and went to plug the connector in. And as soon as I thought the connector was plugging in, I started seeing smoke come out of the module. Turns out the connector was flipped 180 degrees, which it won't plug in that way. But evidently I angled it just right in order to at least make some contact, and started smoking from inside. I took it inside, tore it apart. I didn't really see anything burned up. So I put it back in the car and got it all plugged back in, and it's not communicating now. The fuel pump's not priming. Nothing's happening. I can't communicate with it. So I don't know what's fried, if it just fried the whole thing, like the whole CPU, or if there's just a circuit somewhere that got cooked that I got to figure out. So I don't even know if the sequential fuel injection would have worked. I don't even know if I did all that right. I mean, I really have no idea. So now I get to deal with that problem. Okay, so actually got a little bit more information. I pulled the megasquirt apart. I went ahead and just put it back together real carefully and diligently, and came back to the car just because I was getting ready to order a motherboard. But I came back to the car and plugged it in, and now it is communicating. So that's awesome news. I still got my crank signals working, my cam signals working, all my temperature sensors and throttle position sensor, everything actually seems to be working just like it should. Except one thing, the fuel pump's not priming up. When I turn the key on, it doesn't prime up. So hopefully all we have is like a damaged transistor or something relating to the fuel pump. Just like oftentimes what happens when you jump voltage the wrong place is you just fry a resistor or a transistor on the main board, which is pretty easy to fix. Well, it's fixable anyway. So I'm going to just kind of dissect that circuit that controls the fuel pump and see if we can figure out what we need to do to fix this thing. So I think I found the problem. So the only area of the board that looked even remotely burnt was the circuit right here. Right here in the middle, you can see like how dark it is. And at first I just got my devohm and I kind of touched on the end of it over here and then over here, and I had continuity. But then I like touched it and this wire, like this little ribbon just totally flaked off the board. It wasn't like that. Obviously, that's obviously a problem. But this little circuit makes this little zigzag and then goes to that corner soldered point right there, and that is for fuel pump control. So all I need to do is solder a little wire from that little square guy over to that little corner guy without letting it touch anything else, and I think we'll be back in business. So here's hoping. I'm gonna solder a little piece of wire in there real quick and throw it back in the car and see if we're out of the woods here. Hopefully everything will be right with it after that, and it'll be like this never happened. All right, so I just jumped my little wire there from one pin to the other, made sure it wasn't bridged to one of these other terminals, and everything looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and slap the other board back on top of it and just plug it in, see if the fuel pump kicks on, and then we'll check and see if there's any other damage or malfunction. All right, so I got the module plugged back in after making my repair. We got communication, and when I turn the ignition on, you hear the pump kick on, but it's just staying running. It's supposed to just do a little priming pulse, but it just runs continuously. So that's something I probably want to figure out. But I already went ahead and tried to see if it would start, just because I wasn't sure if I'd have spark or if there was something wrong with that too. And it does run, and it is on sequential. It's running on sequential fuel injection. So that's pretty awesome. It is set on fully sequential MX3X. out why the fuel pump's just running constantly. It's got to be something else messed up inside the board. So one of the reasons that we wanted to go to a sequential fuel system is to take care of an issue that we have with pulsation in the fuel system. So when we did the fuel lines and the PTFE hosing with all the AN fittings, we did eliminate the fuel dampener. And since then, you can see this green line right here is fuel pressure. And this is just sitting at idle without the dampener with batch fire injection, meaning all the fuel injectors fire at the same time once per cycle. And you see how the whole thing's just real squiggly. And we have, I mean, it fluctuates 2 to 3 PSI just constantly. And these are just tenths of a second. Like you see down here at the bottom of the screen, that is time. And so just like within a couple tenths of a second, we're getting 2 to 3 tenths of fluctuation at all times. So now I'm gonna look at a data log of it idling with the with sequential injection to see if that smoothed out a little bit. So this is a data log of the engine just idling with the sequential fuel injection. And you can see the line is still squiggly, although the frame of reference is a little different because I only idled the engine on this one, so the data log is kind of zoomed in. But if you look at this number up here on the right, you can see that it only fluctuates really a couple of tenths at a time, you know, for every couple tenths of a second. So like it basically holds within 1 PSI. And actually that's kind of low. I actually had to raise the fuel pressure up from there. That was just from making the changes to do the sequential. So actually it normally runs about 45 PSI at idle under vacuum. But yeah, you can definitely see that it did make a huge difference. Now the real reason that I was real concerned, not for a couple of PSI when idling, I don't care about that. What I was really worried about was, so here you can see that whenever we're actually making substantial boosts, so right here is about 18 PSI, and that fuel was spiked, so right there's 62 PSI, and then, let's see, that's at 158 seconds. And then right here, still 158 seconds, and we're down to 52 PSI. So there is a jump from 70 PSI to 52 when under high boost. I mean, that's the biggest spike, but you can see it just stays that way while we're up there in boost. And right here again, just, this is about 15 pounds of boost, and the oscillation in the fuel pressure is just extreme. So right here we got 64, and then less than half a second later, we got 49. So it's just significant oscillation of the fuel pressure. And that's why it was so important to make the change to sequential. Just not having the injectors all pop at exactly the same moment is going to help keep the fuel pressure more smoothly maintained and more stable. Well, I haven't yet gotten a chance to make any high boost pulls with the sequential injection. A lot of weird stuff's going on with the car right now. As you know, I fried a circuit on the circuit board. I've repaired that, and everything seems to be okay for the most part. The fuel pump is staying on with key on instead of just doing a prime pulse. So something's shorted in the megasquirt that's keeping the fuel pump grounded. It's not really a big deal, honestly. I'd like to fix it, but honestly, with the ignition on, most of the time the engine's running. And even if it's not, it doesn't hurt the fuel pump to just run sitting there. The only concern really is killing the battery. So I'm not that worried about that. I want to get that straightened out. But another thing is, since we went sequential, it was running really, really lean, like to the point that it would barely idle. And I had to add a substantial amount of fuel on the VE table just to get it to idle. Just at idling, we're at like 90% on the VE table. And that's really high, and it's really unusual. It feels smooth, everything feels good, but I want to mess with the dead times and see if I can figure out what's going on there and get that all right. But otherwise, the car's running and everything else looks pretty good.